Why do the rich keep getting richer, while others stay stuck in the same place? In this video, I'll break down the key lessons from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a book that changed how millions think about money. Real stories, simple tips, and a new mindset. Let's get into it. Introduction. Imagine being 9 years old and feeling left out simply because you didn't have enough money. That's exactly what happened to Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Embarrassed by a childhood experience, he was excluded from a beach trip for being a poor kid. Young Kiyosaki vowed to learn the secrets of wealth. He grew up with two father figures, his own biological poor dad, a highly educated school principal, and his best friend's entrepreneurial rich dad. The poor dad valued job security and academic success, while the rich dad taught Kiyosaki how to make money, keep it, and grow it. In this video, we'll explore the most important lessons from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and real-life examples Kiyosaki shares to help you think differently about money and reach financial independence. Lesson 1. Mindset. Make money work for you. Rich Dad's first big lesson was about mindset. He taught Kiyosaki that the rich make their money work for them. Instead of trading hours for dollars, wealthy people build assets that generate income on their own. In practice, this means buying things that put money in your pocket, like stocks, rental properties, or businesses, instead of things that take money out, like expensive toys and consumer goods. Kiyosaki explains, if you work for money, your mind will start thinking like an employee. If you start thinking differently, like a rich person, you will see things differently. In other words, focus on building assets. He even says to think of every dollar you invest as a hard-working employee that earns you more. Real-life example. Rich Dad gave the boys a run-down rental house to fix up and rent out. Initially creepy and gross, it turned out to be a moneymaker once they managed it. Kiyosaki uses this story to show that even a roach-infested house can become cash flow if you view it as an asset. By believing that money can make more money, they learned not to fear investment, but to look for deals where income exceeds cost. Lesson 2. The power of financial education. One of the book's biggest takeaways is that financial education is everything. Kiyosaki's biological poor dad had a doctorate and taught finance at a top university, yet he struggled to get rich. Meanwhile, his street-smart rich dad, who dropped out in 8th grade, became wealthy running businesses. This taught Kiyosaki that traditional schooling isn't enough. You have to learn how money works outside the classroom. Rich Dad constantly educated the boys. He took them to his shops, factories, and meetings, explaining assets, liabilities, taxes, and investing. He urged them to talk about money at the dinner table, because schools don't teach these skills. And the earlier you start learning about cash flow, investing, and entrepreneurship, the better prepared you'll be. As Business Insider notes, Kiyosaki's two dads illustrate this point. His poor dad finished undergrad and earned a PhD, but his rich dad never finished the 8th grade. Yet the rich dad understood money far better. On critical days, continuace. Text how to staven against in the end. In 40. Don't be embarrassed to learn about money. Read books, follow finance blogs, or even use YouTube to understand investing basics. Kiyosaki famously advises always asking, "How can I afford it?" instead of giving up with, "I can't afford it." This simple shift forces you to get creative, like finding a side gig or a payment plan, rather than shutting down opportunities.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Lesson 3. Assets versus liabilities. A core lesson in Rich Dad, Poor Dad is learning the difference between assets and liabilities. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out. For example, a rental property, after mortgage and costs, can be an asset if it nets positive income. Your own home can be a liability if it drains cash in maintenance and mortgage interest. Kiyosaki insists that the truly rich focus on accumulating assets that generate steady cash flow. He even points out a common mistake. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets, while the rich buy true assets. In practical terms, instead of spending every dollar you earn, put a portion into investments, a stock portfolio, a small business you start on the side, or rental real estate, so that your money begins earning more money. As one summary explains, Kiyosaki says to buy assets, shares and property investments, and avoid liabilities, commitments, and obligations on your way to financial freedom. The poor buy luxuries first, and the rich buy luxuries last. By keeping personal expenses low and investing the rest, you gradually shift from the rat race of paycheck-to-paycheck living into a cycle where your assets pay the bills. In the book, Rich Dad helps the boys see this by contrasting his own growing business empire, assets making income, with Poor Dad's big house and car that actually cost him money in the end. Lesson 4. Work to learn, not just to earn. Rich Dad also taught a surprising career lesson. Work to learn, don't just work for money. Young Robert was encouraged to take jobs that taught him skills, even if they didn't pay much, rather than hunting only for big paychecks. For example, he worked as a clerk at Burger King to learn how to manage people and sell, despite getting fired, and took jobs in sales to build his communication skills. As the book says, work to learn, don't work to earn. Kiyosaki believes being one skill away from great wealth. So seek jobs that make you smarter about money. This ties into entrepreneurship. Rich Dad advises, keep your day job for stability, but start a side business to build assets and learn how companies work. Don't spend your whole life slogging for someone else. Even if it's a small online store or a weekend venture, treating it seriously will teach you how to create value and manage cash flow. In the book, Kiyosaki and his friend Mike experiment by hiring someone to mow lawns and themselves selling pencils, learning the difference between being a boss and being an employee. The message? Use your free time to build something that makes money, whether you're working or sleeping. Lesson 5. Overcoming fear and embracing failure. One of the most powerful lessons is about mindset and resilience. Rich Dad taught that fear of losing money is common, but it's how you handle that fear that matters. In Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he notes that all rich people have lost money at some point, but many poor never have, because they never took a risk. He encourages a shift from fear to learning. Failure inspires winners and defeats losers. When something does not work out the way you planned, let it inspire you to try a different approach. Learn and move on. He also emphasizes emotional control. For example, Kiyosaki warns against greed and panic. Don't buy everything on sale at the supermarket out of greed. And don't sell your stocks during a dip out of fear. Instead, look for opportunity in downturns. In fact, he states, investment is not risky. Not knowing the investment is risky. The richer you become, the more you realize building knowledge and staying calm pays off. By asking creative questions, how can I afford it? And learning from mistakes, you build a financial education muscle that keeps improving. By following the lessons from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you can start to break free from the rat race. Remember, think like an investor, not just an employee. 2. Seek out financial education and practice it daily. 2. Focus on building income-generating assets and let compound growth do the work. And don't let fear stop you. Use failure as a stepping stone to learning. Kiyosaki's own story shows that these principles work. He put these lessons into practice and retired young through smart investing. 2. Thanks for watching. If you found these lessons helpful, hit that subscribe button for more tips on money and success. See you next time, and remember, make your money work for you, not the other way around.